All right, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Burroaks77 coming to you with a MLB live stream for today. And since it's Friday, we're cracking a beer immediately. It's a Pacifico. I got a glass with some lime juice, so I got to pour it instead of just drinking it right away. So bear with me for 1 second. And then I will get on to the show. Let's get it here. Baseball live stream notes. I went through, I took a bunch of notes. I have all my tools pulled up, so I'll show you how I got to a bunch of different stuff. But yeah, we are going to start today just with a couple of notes on some games with weather issues, games with possible weather issues. Cleveland versus Miami. This has a retractable dome, though, so it's not really a concern. And then Seattle versus Kansas City Royals. That definitely has a major weather concern. Like I told you guys before, I just use covers and then I go to a radar if I want a more exact answer, like I did yesterday with the Yankees, because I was interested in some stuff with Stroman there. I don't have a lot of interest in this Seattle-Kansas City game tonight, so I left it alone. I do have interest in this Cleveland-Miami game, and I have a couple of props we're going to end up talking about. But like I said, they have a retractable roof, so any weather issues aren't going to be a problem for us. The rest of the board looks pretty clear. I'll make note of something if there's a percent of precipitation probability over 25%. But as you guys can see, the rest of the games tonight all look to have really good weather. And we have a lot of hitter-friendly ballparks with wind blowing out in a majority of the parks tonight, with at least a 10-mile-an-hour helping wind. So yeah, if you are into betting total bases or home runs, this is probably a pretty good night for you. As we know, too, it is June. The weather's heating up. The ball starts leaving the yard more and more frequently. Cody, what's up, my man? Appreciate you tuning in, brother. Let's get after it today. So yeah, those are just the notes on weather stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete that since we don't need it anymore. The reason I'm doing a live stream is because I did have a lot of interest from guys in my Discord and other Discords that wanted to go over some different stuff with live streams versus, a pre-recorded play of the day video. So I'm going to make sure to touch on some of those topics here today, especially ballpark factors and how to weight those with weather stuff, pitching outs, what's important to look at, no run first inning and yes run first inning props and how to evaluate those. A broader question that I'll address later is why do I focus on pitching props? It's not because they're better bets. It's just because starting pitchers are getting the ball from most of the time anywhere, especially if the guy's pitching well, it's going to be between 85 and 100 or so pitches. And it's just very predictable. Starting pitchers have a pretty high predictability, going through the lineup twice and then getting into the third time through the lineup. There's a lot of predictable metrics that smarter people than me get paid a lot of money to evaluate. And that's just some very reliable trends and data that has shown up through decades of baseball research. Part of the thing with baseball, and especially with betting on baseball, it's not cool. Like, it's a really nerdy thing. Like, I'm out here with a bunch of spreadsheets, talking math, projection, and numbers. So, when I say I'm a gambler, yeah, it sounds kind of cool, but most of the stuff I'm doing is I'm a huge stats nerd. Like I'm just looking at spreadsheets most of the time. So Chris Sale, K's and outs is something people were really interested in. Crochet, I spelled that super wrong here. Garrett Crochet, K's and outs. We'll get into that because that's definitely on the board. People were also really interested in the Cubs versus Reds. And I do have a couple of plays for that and some stuff we'll get into there. Arizona at the Padres. And Will wanted some info on some of the starting pitchers there. So I'll be sure to touch on all this stuff for you guys. Cody looking for some starting pitching. Yeah, it's very, very big stat nerd vibes when it comes to baseball, and especially when it comes to starting pitching, home runs. You start talking about exit velocity, bat speed, barrel percentages. It just gets really nerdy. And that's the thing with baseball. The reason they play 162 games is to get these absolutely massive data sets because bigger data sets make more predictable outcomes. And that's really what we're looking for here. Notes from watching last night's games, just some stuff I want to touch on before we get into it. It's a little bit of a hot take, little overreaction stuff, but also just some stuff I noticed and some stuff that's going to help inform me moving forward as we go throughout the MLB season. Number one, I have to call out Aaron Judge because quitting on a fly ball in left field is an absolute fucking clown move, dude. You look like a bozo. You cost Stroman the win. You could have ended that inning. You costed your bullpen some heavy tax, which they're going to have to deal with today with a guy who it's only his third start. That was a pop. That was an easily catchable pop fly that you let drop because you quit running, and it cost Stroman the win, which is a shame because he's been absolutely dealing at home. It puts a heavier tax on your bullpen when you have to turn around and play a game in under 24 hours on the road at Pittsburgh. You just really cost your team there. So, Judge, you need to be better in the field, and you need to do some better stuff there. That was absolutely atrocious, disgusting to watch. Hunter Green locks in versus the Cubs. Green has been dealing. He has a good head-to-head history against the Cubs. He ended up clearing his line pretty easily last night and just looks good. So, with division play coming up and teams seeing a lot of each other, I'll always make the caveat that division play is tricky, and it's always tricky. And Green just seems to have the Cubs number. So even if he's pitching poorly against the rest of the league, that's a guy's name who I'd have circled moving forward against the Cubs, home and away. Bibee having a really nice bounce back second half of the season. Cleveland struggling with their starting pitchers early, and just some rotation stuff there. Cleveland is a cold weather city. They don't have a dome. So a lot of times pitchers take a while to settle in and find their good form until later in the season. And Bibee's a great example of that. He looked great yesterday. He looked really poor the first half of the season, but last year after All-Star break, he was a stud. It looks like he's found his form and he's found his K stuff now. So, that's just something to be aware of and to watch out for. And then I've been watching a lot of the Cards lately, and St. Louis has absolutely been battling away with starting pitchers and really testing them. They foul a lot of pitches off. They make pitchers work really deep into counts to try and either get them out or, St. Louis is obviously trying to find some run support here for their pitching staff. So that's just what I noticed last night. Go ahead and knock that off the sheet as well, since we covered that. And then teams with thin bullpens. So these are guys where I would look for, if you have a quality starter, they need to be handling their business and going over their outs line. If you have a taxed pen and your starter's not going to take you deep, these are games that I look for the overs on, or to see if the other team they're facing has a well-rested pen or has really good and solid pen arms that are rested. That's fade spots for teams. It doesn't really matter home or away, in my opinion, when it comes to that sort of stuff. You just really want to, especially late, fade teams and look for overs or even live stuff here with thin pens. That being said, I would stick, if you like starting pitchers on teams with thin pens, you are going to want to play first 5, first 7, or whatever you think your starting pitcher can deliver, because thinner, more exhausted bullpens tend to give up a lot of runs late. And there's a long list of teams with thin pens. Minnesota, Yankees, again, rain delay last night. Both starters didn't make it through 5 there. So Minnesota and the Yankees, they're going to have extremely taxed pens with short turnaround games today. White Sox, our starter didn't go very long. I think we gave up 26 hits last night to a hapless Boston team, who I will give them credit is better on the road. But yeah, the Sox pens stretched pretty thin. Cubs, Cincinnati, they both went to the pen early. Both of their pen arms are super exhausted. Pitt's got a pretty gassed pen. Arizona has a really gassed pen. Colorado's pen is in complete shambles. And the Dodgers have a pretty thin pen. So, yeah, Cody, I had to clown Judge to start the show today. That was absolutely ridiculous. Quitting on that fly ball, that's just Bush League shit. And it can cost your team wins. And I had just gotten done thanking my homie Bird, who I believe is listening on his drive home, but won't be in the chat. I had just got done complimenting the Yankees on how nasty that team is and how nasty that team looks. And Judge does that bullshit. Nick Lodolo is the Cincinnati pitcher today against the Cubs. Yeah, and we're going to get into it a little bit on Lodolo here because I flip-flopped on Lodolo stuff. So Oaks' leans for Friday night. This is just a chart of my leans and stuff that I thought was important and where I started kind of picking apart the board today. So a lot of people were asking me about Chris Sale. Chris Sale, obviously pitching for Atlanta, over 6.5 Ks / over 17.5 outs. Let me take a quick look. I know his K number was kind of decent, and I think that's why people were interested in it. But I don't, see, Sale 6.5 plus 114, 5.5 minus 180. You're getting plus money for 6.5. I really did not like his K price today. I did like his outs. That number is pretty torched right now, so I'm not going to do anything with it. It does make a decent little parlay piece, though, if you are very much committed to being on the Chris Sale train today, but I am not. And let me go through why. So for those of you who are asking about Sale, we'll start here on Baseball Savant with probable pitchers. He's only thrown against this Washington lineup for 41 plate appearances. Yes, he does have a 39% K rate there. I have a big feeling that a ton of that is Joey Gallo. Yeah, 9 strikeouts versus Joey Gallo. Gallo is he's trash, dude. He strikes out versus everybody. But other than that, he's only seen Eddie Rosario 16 times, K'd him 4. That's a 25% K rate. Lane Thomas, he's only seen 4 times, 5 plate appearances. So he walked him once. He struck him out twice. And then the rest of this squad, he hasn't seen very much of. It's just Gallo's the outlier there. So the next thing I want to talk about here, Sale obviously got roughed up his last outing versus Oakland. I was actually on his under hits allowed that game. because Oakland is terrible on the road versus left-handed pitchers. But it kind of felt like the MLB put out the juiced balls that day. I'm gonna zoom in. Sorry, I forgot that I zoomed out on my Word documents page just for personal use the other day, so that you guys can see this stuff a little bit more clearly. But yeah, Sale got roughed up. He's looking for a bounce back game. He didn't throw a lot of pitches, and that's why I like his outs. I do not like his Ks because Washington has been a really K-adverse club. They're middle of the pack at 15 for the entire MLB season right now and sitting at a 21.8% K percentage on the season. Washington at home versus left-handed pitching is the fourth most K-adverse team in the MLB with a K percentage of 18.2%. Washington just doesn't strike out, and they're better against lefties, especially at home. So I'm not super interested in getting involved in Chris Sale's K price, even though he does have a rested arm, and that over 6.5 at plus 115 feels pretty tempting. But I just don't like it the way Washington's been swinging the bat recently. So, but the reason I like his outs is because Washington is number 21 in the MLB in batting average versus left-handed pitching at home, hitting a measly 263 as a team. Washington is number 20 in the MLB on-base percentage versus left-handed pitching at home with a 304. And Washington is number 28, so third worst in the MLB in OPS versus left-handed pitching at home with a .609. They also don't have a good it's not walks. What is it? Weighted runs created and weighted runs created plus. So the outs is the play here over the Ks, in my opinion. So Cody, what I'll do is I'll put my official picks in a banner that scrolls across the bottom. I just want to make sure that I touch on as much of this stuff, as much of these questions as I got for specific players from Discord and other guys before we get into what I officially have. Because what I officially have, I've already published in my Discord, and I even shared the Ryan Weathers play we're going to get on here tonight and land your bets earlier. So the next one I'm going to talk about is Garrett Crochet. And then I'll go ahead and get that banner rolling across the bottom for you, Cody, with all the bets I've officially taken here. So we'll talk about Garrett Crochet because obviously the Sox are playing Boston. The Sox are on the longest win streak in franchise history, yada, yada, yada. And the important thing I want to mention here is Boston is actually a lot more significantly more K-adverse on the road. And they're better at drawing walks too. So Boston all around is a far superior team on the road versus at home in Boston. So I do like Garrett Crochet's case here, but definitely not at the price point we're seeing. So if I go back over here to my line shopping tool, unabated, the price has actually come down a little bit. You can now get over 7.5 at -110 over on FanDuel, which is kind of decent. But it's a really high line. I know Crochet is a really good pitcher. I know he's cleared this line several times. So I'll pull up his stuff here. Especially at home. Crochet has been lights out at home. I think this is a much more playable number here now at -110. It's pretty square. For a guy that's done this in 5 out of 7 home starts this season for the White Sox, and his outs numbers definitely don't look as good. Even when I take off the home filter, and I am laying some heavier juice to do it. But again, the reason I like his outs over his Ks is because the Sox pen is absolutely torched. And even if he doesn't have his K stuff, he's not a super fly ball pitcher. He only pitches 56% as fly balls, and getting ground balls for double plays is huge, but obviously relying on the Sox to turn double plays is kind of sketchy. And like I said, the Sox pen is absolutely smoked. They had 3 guys who threw last night for 26 pitches, 34 pitches, 38 pitches. And let me show you the chart here on White Sox pitchers and the bullpen tax, because as I always talk about, this is FanGraphs. This is the roster resource closer depth chart. This is a tool that I use every single day. This is the first place I go and look when I need bullpen information. And this is something that informs me a lot on money lines and over-unders, especially for that up to early win payout on DK. This is what I'm going to go look for, and that's the bullpen tax. And as you guys can see here, the White Sox are absolutely gassed. Like I said, 3 guys pitching last night, 26, 34, 38. You know, Kopech coming in as the closer and only throwing 2 in a loss, whatever. He's ready to go. That's fine, but Kopech hasn't been great. As you can see, he's taken back-to-back losses when he's come in out of the pen. We just don't know what to do with Kopech and how to get him right. You know, we had a guy throw for 19. We had a blown save and a guy throwing for 15, and Sorka throwing for 38. And a nice hold. But, you know, if we add that to the guys who pitched 26 plus last night, that's 4 arms that you're basically probably not going to see in this turnaround. And that's why we called up Cannon from AAA. And then if you go to the day before that on Tuesday, yes, we had an off day Monday. But again, we got another smoked pen, 4 pen arms there. So yeah, I mean, we've used 4, 4, and 3. White Sox pen is absolutely smoked. So I like Crochet on the outs. I like his Ks too. That price has adjusted and is a lot more playable. But I like his outs here, and I really want to talk myself into making his outs an official play. Where's Garrett Crochet? Steal. There's Garrett Crochet. Minus 140 now. Yeah, see, this is minus 140 now instead of minus 135, minus 139. I don't know. I might switch over to his Ks just at that price point. But like I said, I'll show you guys quickly here the splits for Boston. So this is left-handed pitching at home. Let me remove all of the splits. And this is last 30 days. So since I have last 30 days up, for me, that gives me a little bit more relevant stats than season-long stats. I also filter by last 15 days because I think that's a good stat as well. But for the most part, I'm going to stick with last 30 days here because it gives us our most complete data set. So if we go and look for Boston, they're the number 6 K team in the league with a 24.1% strikeout rate. Now, if we filter for just left-handed pitching, because Crochet is a lefty, right? Boston versus left-handed pitching, Crochet is a lefty. I can even double-check over here. Oh, man, I'm going to be far away from Crochet. So it'll take me a second to scroll. Crochet is higher up. These are late games. No? Where's Crochet? There it is. Crochet. Lefty. Again, probably didn't have to do that, but whatever. Versus left-handed pitching, Boston jumps up to 26.8% strikeout rate. Now, when we filter for away versus left-handed pitching, this is where you start to see some standout numbers on Boston here. Boston falls all the way down to 21st in the MLB when it comes to strikeout rate, and only strikes out 21% of the time versus left-handed pitching away. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean Crochet's not going to get his Ks because, you know, this brings into account of relievers, closers, trash lefties that Boston's playing against, I have to go back in here to props.cash to dig more into whether or not I think that the left-handed pitchers they're facing away are quality starters. But, it's a very significant shift in Boston's trend. And it's not just versus lefties. Boston in general just bats better away. You can see here that if we take off the filter for left-handed pitching, Boston's only striking out at 21.5% clip away. Whereas, like I mentioned, over the entire season, it's 24.1%, and their home numbers are absolutely trash. 24%, and then you filter. Oh, this is right-handed pitching. Sorry. Boston at home this season, 26.2. That's a very significant split. So yeah, let me jump back over here to the comments, make sure that I'm hitting everything. Katie, good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Happy Friday to you as well. I like either crochet outs or Ks. Yeah, I mean, look, I can be talked into both. My gut instinct is I like outs more, and the line is even starting to walk away from me. So I think that the rest of the gambling community feels the same way here. Sorry, I'll zoom in on this a little bit more so it's a little easier to read. I apologize. Oaks is highest K rate, so that means Jays pitcher K would be good. Who are the Jays facing today, Cody? We'll see. You got my ear, Oaks. Great stuff. Appreciate you, Will. So yeah, that crochet talk and that sale talk specifically was for you. So thank you for asking. You asked some good questions today. So yeah, look, I'm still leaning crochet outs here. I don't know if I want to lay almost minus 140. But it's a good play, especially with this smoked pen. It's a really good play. I might tease. I think over 16.5 outs and 6 Ks would be a great move here. I really do. I think that over 16.5 outs. I think over 16.5 outs and then a teased K line would be really good here because I don't. Again, I don't know if Crochet's getting 8. I think we're getting a fair market price on that at minus 110. And I think he can do it because he is a stronger pitcher at home and he's been lights out. But like I said, I get a little worried with how significant that split is for Boston. But I could see Crochet throwing 6 Ks. And if you pair that with his over 16.5 outs, because I like him to get through 6 today. I like to see him through 6 full. I would take over 17.5 outs if it was offered at plus money, but they're not going to do that for me. They're playing Oakland, the A's. Okay, yeah. So I actually did look at this because who's Bassett's on the mound, right? And Bassett is better away, but he's infuriating. So yeah, let's go here. Toronto versus Oakland. Bassett away. This is just a super high line, and there was something with Oakland. So yeah, there was something with Oakland that kept me off this. Bassett is a righty, and they are home. So right-handed pitching at home for Oakland last 30 days is 25.5% K rate. I want to say if I filtered, so last 15 days. Yeah, okay. So Oakland, that was part of the thing is Oakland last 15 days, their numbers come down a little bit here to 24.4%. I mean, that's still good. It's just my problem with Bassett is he's very unpredictable. Again, like he gives up hits and he gives up the long ball. and he gives up runs and he walks people. Like, it's not that I hate Bassett. I just think that we're not getting a great number on Bassett because of how bad Oakland is. And I don't think Oakland is bad enough to warrant a 6.5 line on Bassett. Even though, oh, that's already tomorrow's games. Damn. Even though, look, at plus 128, I would take a shot there. I'm not doing it at plus 115. I'm not doing it at plus 110. I'm certainly not doing it at minus 103. There's no way I'm laying juice on Bassett to clear a line that he's only cleared twice this season against an Oakland team that's swinging the bat slightly better and got their pen rested against, I forgot who they played yesterday, but JP Sears climbed the ladder and threw 105 pitches with a smoked bullpen behind him. They played Seattle in a short turnaround game. So JP Sears not only cashed us our play of the day ticket, but was an absolute workhorse yesterday. So the pen for the A's is pretty solid right now after Sears just absolutely dominated. So, yeah, I know, Cody, you're a Jays fan, but I want to stay away from that. I could see you as a Jays fan if you like Bassett and knowing that Oakland's not super good. If you want to take the reach at plus 128, I can put a recommendation on that. I would not play it at plus 115, plus 110, or minus 103. So if you can't get plus 125 or better, I would save your money because there's better plays on the board tonight. Speaking of better plays, that is the wrong tab. Apologies there. Speaking of better plays on the board tonight, that crosses off Crochet. These are general overarching questions that I'll get into later. Let's get right into what I have locked in so that you guys can get it in before the lines move and before first pitch goes off here. So I have 4 bets locked in already, and these are them. So I really like Ryan Weathers tonight of Miami to get over 4.5 strikeouts. We moved on this quickly. I threw it up in my Discord, and I even threw it up in Josh's Land Your Bets Discord because you guys were so responsive and gave me a great list of questions today. I want to make sure you got to play at the same time I released it on Discord. And this, between this and Justin Steele, either one of these would have been my play of the day video. I like Weathers over 4.5 Ks, and here's why. It's because Cleveland struggles a ton versus left-handed pitching on the road this year and against left-handed pitching in general. So this year, against left-handed pitching, Cleveland, one of the most K-adverse teams in the MLB, jumps up all the way to a 22.2% K rate. Now, when you take this and you filter, so we'll start here, left-handed pitching, K rate, and you're going to see Cleveland right here at 16, 21%. This is last 30 days too. So what I pulled this number for, 20.5%, or sorry, 22.2% K rate. That's season long. This is last 15 days. Last 30 days, because we're going to get into that split here as well for Cleveland, is 21.6%. So that's just versus left-handed pitching. Then when you filter for left-handed pitching away, you get 23% K rate on the entire season versus left-handed pitching just in general. For Cleveland, last 30 days, 21.6%. So still pretty close in line with that 22.5%. A shade better, but again, that can just have to do with how many left-handers they're facing. And left-handers away, you're starting to get more specific. That's going to depend on how many away games they've had versus lefties, blah, 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 blah. But, again, this is reflective of what it's been for season long, 23%, 23.1%. And that makes them Left-handed pitching away, update, Cleveland. It makes them the number 8 strikeout team in the MLB away on the road the last 30 days versus left-handed pitching. And let's check out what Ryan Weathers has been doing, because it's been absolutely nasty. And this is a guy that if you're not paying attention to, you need to start paying attention to. Because when this guy has his best stuff, he absolutely dusts people. You know, we're seeing him go for 10 Ks versus San Francisco, who is more K adverse now. At the beginning of the season, they were a little more K prone. 5 away at Oakland is fine. He struggles on the road for sure, but has kind of gotten it together a little bit recently after this Detroit game. He dusted Milwaukee at home, who I can't get a read on. Like, I'll tell you guys right now, I have no idea who the Brewers are and what they're doing. They're the most bipolar team in baseball, and I just try and stay away from them as much as possible. But he dusted them for 8 Ks in his own building. And he went on the road against Arizona and dusted them for 7. Now, Arizona sucks, and we're going to talk about Arizona a little bit because they are starting to get healthy and they are starting to swing the bat better. But again, going on the road where he's been struggling the entire season and dusting them for 7 is fantastic. And now Texas is very much worse against left-handed pitching, but they're not 11 Ks worse versus left-handed pitching. That's a complete dust show. And look, when we filter for his home starts here in 2024, this guy's gone over in 4 or 5. The only team he missed was Washington, who we already talked about earlier in the show, is just absolutely manhandles left-handed pitching on the road. So, again, that's why we're staying away from Sale. And Washington is just super K adverse versus left-handed pitching. And now we're talking about a Cleveland team who really struggles not only against lefties, but against lefties on the road specifically. I love that we got Ryan Weathers over 4.5 Ks at -115. I played this to win a unit. And right now, for those of you who didn't see it before I published in my Discord / Josh's Discord, which shameless self plug, you should join. It's only $15 a month. I keep it super affordable. So yeah, I will pull that Discord link here in a second for you, Bill. So I appreciate you asking. I will throw it in chat here in a second. So yeah, let's just get the live price on Weathers real quick. -132 over on FanDuel. I think that's still playable. That is kind of the bottom of my zone there. -132 on Caesars as well. Caesars, look, no disrespect to FanDuel or DraftKings. Those are kind of the public markets. Those are the markets those are the sports books that are going to have high handle by your retail customer. If you ask me who the sharpest book around is that I can have access to in Michigan, we're not talking Pinnacle. We're not talking Circa, though Circa did just open in Illinois. Circa is by far the sharpest book around. They have the lowest hold of anybody, but of books available to me, Caesars is consistently the sharpest book because Caesars is willing to take the highest action from people that they haven't vetted through their VIP program, yada, yada, yada. Caesars is willing to take $1,000 bets off of no-name people off the street without limiting them, as long as you don't abuse stale lines on Caesars, which Caesars very rarely has stale lines anymore, but it's really hard to get your account limited on Caesars unless you're doing something in the gray area. So Caesars to me is one of the sharpest books around because they take the highest limits of professional gamblers that I know. So yeah, I'm fine here at -132. I'd even play -135, 139, 140. It is pushing it just a little bit, but I don't hate it. I do think Weathers deals here. And if you don't want to lay that much juice, I'm kind of cool taking the ladder here. I'd go up to 6 at plus money. But again, that's oh man, I'm sorry. I left this comment up for way too long. I apologize. But again, that's personal preference. I'm a big value guy. I like to bet one single outcome for one thing, and I try and I have a high volume of bets in soccer, but when it comes to baseball, I'm really looking to narrow things down to like my my 1 to 3 and sometimes 5 best plays of the day, because I want to make a larger wager on those and feel confident that it's going to cash and come through for me. So again, if you're a higher volume bettor or if you have a higher risk tolerance, I have absolutely no problem going up to 6 here, because I think I think he might deal again. He might get 7. He might get 8. He might get 9. Again, it's all up to you. But you've seen what Weathers has done at home this season: 10, 8, 11. And in his last 3 outings, 8, 7, 11. This dude's nasty. He's got nasty stuff. And Cleveland just flat out sucks versus left-handed pitching. So give me 1 second here. I will drop the link to the Discord in the video description here. I will tell you guys too, like, again, I'm not super trying to push the product here, but I appreciate you guys asking when you do. I keep it affordable. It's $15 a month. I think that's a really fair price. I give a 3-day free trial to everybody too, to see whether or not it's for you and whether or not it's stuff you like. So here's the link. Here's the link. If you want to join, I'm more than welcome it. I'd be happy to have you. I talk baseball. I talk soccer. I talk, we bet everything over there, and we just like to hang out, talk sports. And I got a good crew of guys who are also very sharp. Who've learned a lot from me and brought a lot to the table themselves. And the whole point of the place is to help you learn how to get better and make better bets so that you can go to the window more. Anyway, next prop that I have locked in, Erdy took, is Justin Steele under 5.5 Ks. I got this at -120. I took it on DK because they had if you bet $50, you can get a $25 free bet promo. So that's why I went ahead and did. My unit for myself is $50. So yeah, I'm playing Steele to win a unit. So it's a $60 bet to return 50. Cincinnati versus left-handed pitching this season has a K rate of 20.5%. Cincy at home versus left-handed pitching has a K rate of 18.3%. That's a significant difference in the splits. Now, when we get into the last 30 days, you're going to see that Cincinnati absolutely rakes left-handed pitching. They're only striking out at a 16.7% clip versus left-handed pitching the last 30 days. And at home versus left-handed pitching, that falls all the way down to 15.3%. So that is a 5.2% difference versus their season-long average versus lefties. So I'm going Steele here on the under Ks because I know that Chicago, the Cubs, have a taxed pen. I watched them play last night. That was a hell of a game. There were some nice runs there, but you got Hodge going 21 pitches. You got Little going 9, and you got Hendricks, who's coming out the pen now and is trash, by the way, going 17. The day before, you had your closer go 19 and get you a win. You had Wazinski, who has been a spot starter at times, go 16 and blow a save. You've had Smiley, who's a spot starter at times, go 25. You had Hodge go 15. And then you used 4 pen arms the day before that. So we've got 4, 4, and 3 on pen arms here. So I know Steele has nasty stuff. I do like Steele as a pitcher. I know that Cincinnati is a very K-prone team, but I just and he's done it a couple of times versus Cincy, but he hasn't done it versus Cincy on the road, and he doesn't have a ton of data because he was on the IL for a little bit. He looked like he got his stuff right versus Milwaukee. again, seeing Steele a second time does give me a little bit of a sweat here on his under, especially because he got Cincy for 5. But I think Cincy at home versus lefties, they rake him. So I'm all over Steele's under here. And yeah, you can get minus 122, still good. Minus 128, still good. Minus 127, still good. Probably shy away from the minus 140 because there's a better price on the market. But yeah, not much change there. So I like Steele. And then what was it? Cody, you were asking about Lodolo because I did originally lean Lodolo's unders as well. Under 6.5 Ks at minus 134 on FanDuel. Chicago isn't super K prone versus left-handed pitching. Doesn't really matter if it's home or away. They're fine over the last 30 days. Lodolo was struggling. He's never cleared this line versus the Cubs from 2022 to date. Lodolo has only cleared this line in 2 of 8 starts this season. And both of those starts came away. He hadn't cleared it at home. Then I went ahead and saw Chicago's lineup. And the Cubs just put out garbage. Wisdom. Look, I'm glad that he's healthy, and I know that he can be a good bat at some point here in the future. But he's, his data is not statistically relevant because he hasn't had enough plate appearances. But 27.5 on the year coming off the IL, not interested. That's a walking K. Suzuki, 26.6%. That's a walking K. Bellinger, 16.3. He's K. That's fine. Morale, borderline guy. Hap, 27%. That's a walking K. Swanson, that's a walking K. Boat, 60%. Not enough plate appearances. That's a walking K. Bush, he's been a walking K. He'll take you yard, but he's Adam Dunn, dude. Like, he's going to bat 200 and get you a bunch of dongs and sell some tickets, but he's not a good hitter. So that's why I backed off Lodolo. And that doesn't mean I switched to his over. That just means it's a no play for me. If you want to talk yourself into his over, then I can see that. I could see it a lot more at plus 105 than I can at minus 128, minus 115, minus 133. But yeah, the price on Lodolo now, for the under, because of the lineup, I'm not playing. And then the over is getting absolutely steamrolled and it's flip-flopped because of the lineup the Cubs put out. So I'm out on Lodolo. Next, quickly, before time comes, and I will explain on how to do NRFI, YSFRI research. For those of you who have been asking, but I want to make sure that I get these out to you guys first. We'll go through that NRFI, YSFRI research here. After this, I'll give you the plays first, and then I'll show you what goes into the research. I'm taking Cleveland, Miami, no runs first inning, minus 129, minus 130 on FanDuel. This is a 1 unit play, not to return 1 unit, because both of these are pretty heavily juiced. So I just played the unit instead of playing to return 1 unit. Most of the times I play to return a unit versus just for a unit, but that's just where I was at today, because I really do like our 2 pitching props. I feel strongly about those, and I played both of those to return units at minus money. So yeah, I really like Cleveland, Miami, no run first inning. I really like Boston, White Sox, no run first inning, and I will show you why. So again, props.cash is the only not free research tool I'm showing you. I don't get sponsored by them. They have sent me a little bit of merch. And I know the guys that work there and kind of started the thing. They're really good dudes. Again, I'm not super, it's not my intention to give them free promo, but I'd tell you right now, I can't handicap without them. So for $200 a year, I fork over the money. And you can get a bunch of this data. It's just, you can get a bunch of this data for free elsewhere. It's just all in one place here. So it makes doing the live streams way easier. So what I'm doing is I'm going to NRFI. And for me, I put a lot of weight into the pitcher's performance as well as the offense's performance. The pitcher to me is more important than the offense because, again, we'll come back to this later in the show on why I focus on pitching props. Pitchers control the ball. They control the pace of the game. They're some of the most predictable pieces in the MLB. And that's why I focus on starting pitching so much. So it was Cleveland. Yeah, Cleveland, Miami, and Cleveland, Miami. So Logan Allen is 5-2 away on NRFIs and 8-4 overall this season. Ryan Weathers at home is a perfect 5-0 and an 11-1 this season. And if you go over here, you can get this is obviously biased to only taking account starting pitcher data from 2024. That gives us a 61.6% implied probability that there will be an NRFI. Now, that's only half of the equation. So now I go and look at the offenses, and I see how they've been doing. Cleveland has actually been really hot. They've been scoring a lot of runs in the first inning recently. They're 5-5 over their last 10 games. Miami has been a little cooler. They're 7-3 over the last 10 games. And that brings implied. Oh, they don't do implied problem. Okay. Yeah, they don't do implied probability for team data, which is fine. I could figure it out, but I just, it's too, you guys don't want to sit in here and watch me punch numbers on a calculator to do math. Like, that's not entertaining programming. So anyway, Cleveland has been hitting in the first inning more lately, and they're a 50-50 split. So you would think, well, you probably want to get a little bit better price than -129 or -130. But if you remember, the reason we're on Weathers today is because Cleveland stinks and struggles against left-handed pitching away. So that's why I'm on the NRFI, and that's why I'm okay laying the juice. It's also because Weathers is undefeated in NRFIs at home. He's 5-0. And has he given up one? Yeah, so he's given up one run in the first inning in 12 starts this season. So that's where I'm at. That's how I get there. That's how I look at NRFIs. And then we'll continue that for the other game that I took, which is Boston at the White Sox. The White Sox bats stink. If there's not a left-handed pitcher on the mound, the White Sox bats just stink. I know that what's his name? Young, something like that. Yulks, yeah. Yulks has been batting for us since Pham has gotten hurt in the one hole. And I know he had a couple of he had a leadoff home run versus the Cubs the other day. But look, he's not that good. We all know he's not that good. Unless Criswell is a lefty, no, he's not. Then Benintendi sucks out loud too. So, look, I would like to be more positive about my White Sox. I just can't be. So we're taking no runs first inning here. Criswell doesn't have a lot of data. This is from last year. Sorry. I changed pages, so they changed it on me. Criswell, 3-1, 7-2 overall. Again, that's not a super significant data set, especially because he is a rookie. And same with Crochet, 7-0, 12-1. It's a really high NRFI implied win probability based on the pitchers. And then when we go look at the offenses, Boston, 7-3 overall the last 10 games. White Sox, 8-2 overall the last 10 games. So that's where I'm at on NRFIs, and that's why those are official plays. So, yeah, those are my 4 official plays that I put up in Discord. let's see. I took Steele at 348. I took Weathers at just before 4 p.m. And then I put up the NRFIs right before I went live because that was the last thing I researched today. So those are all my official plays. If you guys have any questions, comments, you got any other people specifically that you want me to look at, I'll go ahead and do that. You know, I do still need to use. I still need to use my up by 2 early win promotion. So maybe we look to do that, and that's something I can take here live and work through with you guys. Any 2 pitchers, Ks or outs? Sure. Yeah, let me go through. So my lean sheet, Chris Sale, we already talked about. I'm not getting involved with that because of price points. Savale, Tampa Bay, over 4.5 Ks. He's significantly better at home. Let me take a quick look at this lineup Savale is going to be facing. Tampa Bay versus Baltimore. Okay. I also really liked this. I also really liked this one for an NRFI too. Shoot. I really liked this for an NRFI. Stock cash. Was that on my list for NRFIs? Baltimore, Tampa Bay. Yeah, minus 110 FanDuel. I'm going to go ahead and make that play. I really liked this for a no-run first inning. My big concern here in the first inning is Gunnar Henderson has gone yard first at bat versus Savale, but that was in his own building, and Savale is a significantly worse pitcher at home. And the other guy that I had some concerns about was O'Hearn, but I don't know if he gets there. Santander, he's done really well against for Savale, and yeah, Cole Irvine is he doesn't give up runs in the first inning. Here, we'll go back here and we'll check this out. So that's the Orioles, Baltimore. Yeah, that's offensive pitcher. Irvin, 3-0 on the road, 9-0 this season. Savale, 6-0 at home, 10-2 this season. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take that now live. Better add Blue Jays to that NRFI list. Yeah, man. I mean, late for sure. Jays are one. Yeah, they're one of the last games to go tonight. So, Bird, if we get waxed early in the slate, that'll be our chase spot. So yeah, 20. Sorry, I know this is boring when I do this, but I do need to log in. I don't want to pull up the windows on my computer while I'm doing these so that I don't give you my identity info with my email address and shit. Oh man, this is down to minus 130 now. Is there a better book with a better number? If anybody, all right, hell yeah, Bird. If anybody finds a better number on that NRFI, let me know. I'm gonna take a quick look here. Sorry, I know you guys can't see this. I'll zoom in. This is the one backside drawback on unabated is they don't do NRFI numbers. So this is just a different shopping tool that I use. This is predominantly my soccer shopping tool. Minus 113 on Bet Rivers. I don't think they'll let me get a full unit down, but I can try because Bet Rivers has me super limited. Minus 120 on DK is still playable for me. It's certainly 10 cents better than minus 130. So I wish I could like play my music or something in the background for when I have to stop talking. But hey, what are you gonna do? I know it doesn't make the most exciting TV or listening or watch around, but we gotta get these in. We gotta make some money. Okay, I can get almost a full unit down on Bet Rivers. They're capping me out at 46.44. So I'll take that for just shy of a unit. Let me go BALV Baltimore versus who? Tampa Bay? Yeah. Cool. All right. So we took Baltimore versus Tampa Bay. Now I want to look at this lineup. Gunnar Henderson's got good going yard power. Rushman's hard to K. Mountcastle is a borderline guy. O'Hearn, Santander. The bottom of this order is kind of gettable. I don't know. There's only 3 real targets here. Savale is a much better pitcher at home, but I think I'm going to pass on that for now. That line is low. I don't know. I'm just going to pass on that. I'm going to pass on Savale. I'm just going to put 1 unit here. That's why I told Discord, if you can play for a unit, play for a unit, but Bet Rivers hates me and they don't want my money. So, yeah, I can't play a full unit there. So we're passing on Savale here. Oh, Lorenzen over 2.5 walks. We'll come back around to that. Crochet, we already talked about on his outs and Ks. I don't know if I'm going to get there. Okay, so this one I actually really like, and I think I'm going to make this a play. Pitcher outs. I want to find Gomber under 17.5 minus 110 on DK. Yeah, I'm gonna have to play that. So I'm gonna be a live ad on this. Let me throw this up in Discord. So I have 3, 4, 5. Fuck, I have 5 plays already. 3 NRFIs, 2 pitchers, whatever. I don't care. I'm doing it. We made some really good money this month, especially with Madrid. So we're playing with some house money here. I'm playing to win a unit. Okay, so Gomber under 17.5 outs. There's some stuff I can show you on splits and stuff like that on why Gomber or why St. Louis is tough to get pitch deep against. But just trust that I've been watching a lot of cards games. It's just been something that my action has led me to, or a lack of other sports on TV has had me tuning in to a lot of cards games. I watched them, rough up Eric Getty a little bit and put a line drive off his leg that cost us a play when they were playing Houston. and I watched them last night, and I've just kind of been watching a lot of cards the last couple weeks. St. Louis absolutely rakes left-handed pitching. St. Louis batters have also been going really deep into counts. They've been smoking starting pitchers' arms. They've been smoking bullpens the last 2 weeks, and I've watched a lot of cards games. Gomber got his teeth kicked in versus the Dodgers and only made it 3 innings with 79 pitches. So he is rested, and I know Colorado's pen is completely smoked and that he needs to go deep into this game. But even if Colorado's like, yo, you just gotta stand in there and wear this one, and he's getting shelled, they're gonna have to pull him when his arm gets around 100 pitches, because you're not gonna blow out a starting pitcher's arm just because your pen's taxed in early June, dude. So I think Gomber is just gonna struggle here because St. Louis is really, really good at hitting lefties. They're even better at hitting lefties at home. In this card squad battles at the plate every single time they're up. So they'll stand in there and they'll fall off 7 or 8 balls. They'll work you deep into the pitch count until they get something they like, and they absolutely smash left-handed pitching. And they might tax 7 on Gomber today. On top of that, Gomber, he's not great. Like he's not a great pitcher. On his outs, yeah, he did consistently kind of go on a run there. And as against Houston, who's pretty K adverse, but that doesn't mean that, he's not getting ground balls. Houston just doesn't strike out. That doesn't mean they're not a bad team. I watched them be dog shit for like 3 months in a row. Pittsburgh, again, is a pretty K-prone team. Texas is pretty K-adverse. They've gone through some struggles here. San Diego's super K-adverse. Oakland isn't very K-adverse. And, I know that he's cleared this line a good amount. I know how St. Louis hits, and they completely rake left-handed pitching, and they dominate guys. I watched Eric Getty have he was coming up on 78 pitches through the 4th, dude. So these guys just really work the count and make pitchers work for it. And you got Lance Lynn on the mound, who has to be pissed off at this team because he's the pitcher with the most errors behind him in the MLB, by 3 errors. So I kind of like Lynn's K's tonight, but I ended up settling here on Gomber's under outs. Shit, he's minus 120 now. Let me see. Where was he's minus 115? Okay, I'll take it on MGM if I can take it on MGM at minus 115, because that is a hair better than Caesars. Otherwise, I'll just play it on DraftKings since I'm already logged in there. Baggio just got DFA'd from Jays. Okay. I appreciate that, Cody, for sure. I'm really sorry here. Is there anything else I want to talk about before we get rolling, or at least some of these first pitches go off? Yankees, Dodgers, both pens are completely smoked. This Yankees pitcher, somebody was asking me about his Ks. I don't know. I'm not super into dealing with rookies who have never made a home start before, and are pitching in a short porch right field versus a Dodgers team who absolutely hits the living piss out of the ball. So I would stay very far away from the Yankees starter today. I like the over a lot in that game because the pen is torched. I don't have an opinion on who wins. I don't really care. Yankees and Dodgers aren't my team, and I don't think that the price on, if you like the Yankees, they are a very good team. We saw Judge completely fuck up in the field yesterday, but The Dodgers have plenty of problems. If you want to take the Yankees at home at plus 120, I don't think that's a bad play. Okay, so I'm getting the same price across the board everywhere on Gomber. I'm just going to play it on DraftKings since I'm already logged in there. Why not? So I'm in on Gomber, under outs. I just think that he's going to get I think he's going to get his teeth kicked in again today. And no matter how taxed that pen is, the guy's capping out at 100 or so pitches. So yeah, I'll move that into the full-on plays. I gotta change that in Discord too. I apologize because I did put it down as 110 without actually going to run and make sure that I could get that number. So that's on me. That's part of the deal with doing live streams, though. Am I right? Anyway, let's see what's there's two more on the list. We'll talk about the walks. That's a stretch, but Cody, I would say that my last kind of look here is on Michael King for his over Ks tonight. Over the overline, he's hit this in every single home start. Arizona has let 4 of the last 6 starting pitchers they have faced clear their final K line. Arizona is starting to get healthier and swing the bats a bit better with more guys coming back into this order regularly and starting to see MLB level pitching again. But Arizona is still having a lot of K issues and has a season-long K rate of 23.9% away versus right-handed pitching. Over the last 15 days, they have a 24.6% K rate versus right-handed pitching away. And over the last 7 days, they have a 23% K rate versus right-handed pitching away. So, it's just right around 23, 24, 25% K rate for Arizona versus righties away. And versus and that's season long, last 15 days, last 7 days. Like I said, you want to kind of skinny up your date range here on Arizona instead of doing full season, last 30, last 15. You want to skinny that up to last 7, last 15. Even though they are smaller data sets, it's because Arizona is starting to get healthy and get some guys back in their lineups. So, yeah, I would say that would kind of finish off what I'm looking at, especially as far as K props go. The last thing I'll talk about, and this is definitely a reach, and it's a high line, is Michael Lorenzen for Texas over 2.5 walks. It's plus 145 on DK or MGM. The Giants, they draw a lot of walks, and they're pretty disciplined at the plate. They have a good lineup. They have good batters. They have good eyes. San Francisco Giants are the number 12 team in drawing walks this season at an 8.5% rate overall. San Francisco jumps up to be the number 6 team in the MLB with a 4.2% walk rate when they are on the road. So they have much more plate discipline when they are on the road. And then versus right-handed pitching away, they are the number 8 team in the MLB with an 8.5% walk rate, which matches their season total, which has them at number 12 for everybody else. But when you filter for right-handed pitching away, they are better compared to the rest of the MLB, but they do still have the same walk rate as everybody else, as they do versus the entire season. So Lorenzen has cleared this line in 6 of 9 starts this season. Lorenzen, I wouldn't say he has control issues. Lorenzen's just not afraid to give up the walk and pitch you outside the zone. It's because he's looking for swing and miss stuff, and he doesn't have a great fastball. He doesn't have the speed to blow things by anybody. He relies a lot on his breaking balls, and sometimes they're in the zone, sometimes they're not. More often than not, they have a tendency to be outside the zone. And if you get batters with good plate discipline, they tend to draw a couple of walks against him. So Lorenzen has cleared this line in 2 of 3 home starts. Again, I watched him pitch a ton in Detroit and Philly last season. Lorenzen he can have some really nasty stuff. Like, I'll show you guys. His K stuff is very hit or miss. You know, he's coming off of an injury from last season. You know, his K stuff's very hit or miss. He's a far better pitcher at home than he is away. Actually, he's actually been pretty decent away this season. But, you know, he's got decent K stuff when it's consistent, but here's his big problem. Walks galore, man. 6 out of 9, like I said, with 2 or more walks. And it's not against teams that are only the top of the MLB when it comes to walks. Like Kansas City. Okay, so they were in Kansas City. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I'll just pull up the general walk statistics without any stat filters for the last 30 days, and you guys will see. Like, Cincinnati walks a lot, and he didn't walk Cincinnati very much. I know for a fact Miami does not walk. Yep, Miami, least walk team in the MLB, still got 2 off of him. So, again, Lorenzen's just very comfortable pitching outside the zone and isn't afraid to give up the bag. And I think the price point here is very much worth it against a Giants team that walks a lot. I'm probably going to make this an official play, and I'm probably going to play it at half a unit. Just because I am starting to get a lot of exposure here. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 plays. So 7's probably my cap out here on the evening. Because that'll be, you know, if you're playing to win a unit on some minus money stuff, you know, I'm starting to look at putting almost 10% of my bankroll into play. That's, you know, it is what it is. If the board's good, you take it, but you just don't want to have a day where you think you're seeing the board really well and then you get smoked. So anyway, before I wrap up here, I hope that Will, Cody, and the rest of the people who had larger, kind of more general questions that they wanted to get into are still able to be tuned in and watching here. Otherwise, they'll have to get it on the replay. But I already showed you guys NRFI outs or NRFI research. Why I focus on pitcher props. We covered Chicago, Cincy, AZ, Padres. I hate Arizona. So if you're still watching, I gave you King. I like King. I like his Ks. I hate Arizona. I hate PFOD, Padfit, whatever the hell however you want to say his name. I just don't like him as a pitcher. I know he's better at home too. He's fine away. I don't know. I just don't like the guy. He's burned me a couple of different times. So I'm staying off of that one. So somebody was asking me about ballpark factors and how those weight into different props I'm taking. And first of all, weather is obviously the biggest factor. If you look on Twitter, Ballpark Pale, I'm not sure if he still does all of his stuff for free or if his stuff is a paid service now, but you can go to pretty much anywhere and check out weather. Again, this is covers. This is just a quick, simple tool I like to use. I like the size of it for the play of the days. It just fits really good to clip stuff here. But yeah, ballpark weather is a major factor. Wind blowing out to left or right field. in hitter-friendly ballparks is a major contributing factor to what I look for when I'm betting home runs, total bases, different props like that, especially now that we're getting into June, July, August, the dog days of summer. This is when the ball starts flying a lot farther. This is when doubles turn into home runs, when long singles that would have been flyouts turn into doubles or home runs. So weather plays a major factor. The other factors that play in are ballparks, their sizes, their shapes, and their uniqueness. One of the examples I gave when you asked about this early in Discord was Fenway Park. Fenway Park has, we won't be able to see it because they're not playing in Fenway today, but they have the Green Monster, which makes it really hard for lefties to hit home runs unless you can go oppo. And we just don't see a ton of guys hitting oppo anymore. I know they banned the shift. I know that there's more of an emphasis on balls in play, yada, yada, yada. So I do think that we will see the return of guys who can go oppo a lot more as the MLB progresses. But for the longest time, there was no emphasis on guys who could put the ball in play and go opposite field. So yeah, we just don't see a lot of it anymore. And then that's going to be the same thing for all the ballparks. You know, PNC Park over here, you can see it's obviously going to be a little bit tougher to go out on left field here. Orioles Park is another great example. They moved the wall back like 22 feet in order to get out of the left field yard. Wrigley Field has one of the shortest dead centers in all of the MLB. They have really long alleyways, and we all know that Wrigley is one of the most impacted fields when it comes to wind and weather. So yeah, there's a lot of different factors that go into assessing the ballpark, and that's why the third thing I talk about in all of my play of the day videos is always weather. But the ballpark plays a factor as well. So something to keep an eye out for. Pitching outs. How do I assess pitching outs? I think I kind of touched on that a bit today when I went over Sale, when I went over Gomber, when I went over, what I've been seeing with St. Louis. But another thing that you should look at with pitching outs is the bullpen chart. When you have an extremely thin bullpen, you are going to ask your starter to shoulder a larger load. As a manager, when before he even warms up, probably the second he walks into the stadium, maybe even the night before, if he's sitting on the bench, you're going to look at him and go, look, dude, I don't give a shit if you get hit 6 or 7 times. You got to stand in there and deliver for me because we have absolutely no shot if I go throw out a gas pen. And that will affect the way guys pitch. And that's what I've talked about several times with guys who have really good K stuff and good K numbers and might even be facing teams that are kind of good matchups or at least borderline matchups for them. You'll see them not completely fall off a cliff, but they won't be bothered by a start where they don't clear their K line and they eat 7 innings, because putting balls on the ground and getting out of innings with short work and double plays when you know your bullpen's really gassed and it's a tight game, that's helping your team get a win more than standing up there and battling for a 9-pitch strikeout, because you're only going to be able to do that 10 times in a game. 10 times 9-pitch strikeouts, that's 90 pitches. Like, your arm only has, most managers don't let guys go over 100 anymore. And there's a lot of data to back that up. There's certain guys that are different. Lance Lynn is a guy who's you'll see 12, 13, 14-year veterans who know their body and know what they're capable of, especially before All-Star break, go out there and deal like 130 pitches. Guys who aren't all-stars know they're getting a 2.5-week break. They'll go out there and shove for 120 plus, but that's really like the only time you see that in the season. So pitching outs is very specific to what the bullpen's done, what you know the pitcher's capable of, and a combination of whether or not guys are strikeout guys, because high strikeout guys like Green last night aren't going to be high outs guys, because they're going to stand in there and battle, and guys who give up a lot of fly balls and hard contact aren't going to be outs guys, because they give up a lot of home runs. Soft pitch ground ball guys are going to be your outs workhorses. And we have a perfect example today in Logan Webb, who is an absolute workhorse pitching for San Francisco. His K numbers aren't super impressive, especially against a Texas team who's incredibly K adverse, especially at home. That's why his line's so low. His line is normally not 4.5. It's normally right here at 5.5, 4.5. It bounces between them. But look at this, dude. He's an absolute workhorse. His line is all the way up. They need him to start the 7th inning before you even think about cashing a ticket on Webb now. If you find him at over 17.5, it's going to be juiced to minus 250, because that's just what Webb does. He's not focused on Ks. He's focused on, even when he gives up hits, he's a quality starter because he induces soft contact, and he's got an excellent defense that turns double plays behind him. And that's how he keeps his workload short for the night. So that's the sort of stuff you need to look for when you're targeting outs plays more than anything else. Pen usage, can the outfield turn double plays? And do you avoid giving up barrels, fly balls, and hard contact? You want soft contact in the infield, ground balls on guys you want to target for outs. So that's how you look at pitching outs. And why do I focus on pitching props? This was a great question by Will, if you're still here. Again, it's because a starting pitcher is expected to go out and control the ball for anywhere. You have to finish 5 innings to even be eligible for the win anymore in the MLB. So I'm expecting minimum 5 innings out of a starter. And they just have the largest data sets, because hitters are going to hit anywhere from 3 to 4 times a game minimum. Sometimes they'll hit 5+ times a game, but you're only going to see that starting pitcher a maximum of 3 times. There's if you're a top of the order guy, you might see a pitcher 4 times through the order, but that has kind of gone out the window with the advancement of metrics and the weight we put on metrics. And it tends to be bad for business unless you're an absolutely elite pitcher to see a guy 4 times in an inning. So you have the largest, most reliable data set available on pitchers versus any other position on the field. And that's why I focus on pitcher props. And that's especially early in the season. That's why I focus on pitcher props, because I know they're going to control the game a lot. And I know that, spring training and what they need to do on a day-to-day basis is much less dependent on outside forces, whereas everything else is. Hitting is very streaky. It takes a while to dial in and see the ball. It takes a while to understand pitcher tendencies, but you will start to see me get into a lot more hitting props now that the season's progressed and we're into the summertime. Anyway, we started this stream at 5:30. It's now almost 7 o'clock. So I'm going to wrap it up unless you guys got anything else that you want to ask me before we get out of here. I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. I want us to cash some bets tonight. I know people were interested on Twitter, at least, in the play of the day more than one of these live streams. So maybe I'll try and get a play of the day out for King, or maybe Lorenzen walks, or maybe one of these NRFIs that ends up going off late. If I'm able to do that sort of editing, I don't know. I don't know if I have the patience. I don't know if I want to. It's Friday. That first beer absolutely slapped. So I definitely need another Pacifico before I do anything else. But thank you for tuning in, guys. I'm going to be doing more live stuff here with Copa Americas and Euros coming into play starting as early as next week. We're exactly a week out away from the first kick in Euros. So I'm going to have some futures stuff for that. I did a live show on Wednesday with my boy Leg and my boy Nick. We got Copa America coming up, and we're going to keep grinding on baseball. We haven't gotten everything figured out yet, but hopefully I'm going to be starting to do some of these live shows with my boy Josh from Land Your Bets, because I know the NBA season's wrapping up, and I know he's doing some WNBA stuff, but we really want to get together on a project here, and I think that project's going to be baseball live streams. So appreciate you guys tuning in again. The link to the Discord, I threw it up here in chat. It's also on my Twitter profile. Whatever. If you need help finding it, let me know. I'll happily get that information over to you. I appreciate everybody who jumped in the stream and watched. I appreciate the support on the Discord. I hope we stay hot, play the day. Has been staying hot. I know we took a couple of losses there recently, but 23-11 for plus 13.75 units is still a great thing to have on the play of the day record. So that's it. That's all I got. Oaks out. Doses.